Thanks for everybody for coming, finding your way down the end of the hallway. Just want to spend a little bit of time, going over this concept of smarter commerce and what it is and how you can, achieve value from it. It's not a product. You can't come up to IBM and say, hey, sign me up for, 1 unit of smarter commerce. Sorry, Dick, they can't buy smarter commerce. But what it is, it's a unique approach that allows companies to deliver value to their customers, their trading partners, and their shareholders in a rapidly changing digital world. And the whole concept behind smarter commerce is it was designed to allow you to better integrate, more efficiently manage your complete value chain. You've probably seen it in the Solution Center, that the buy, sell, market, service, circle. Smarter commerce is a life cycle approach. It allows you to do that by placing what we say the customer at the center. So in effect, for all the actions and decisions you make, right, you're keeping focus on the customer that'll hopefully enhance that customer, provide better customer loyalty, which will then lead to better revenue, margins, and overall better business processes. So, there's a new sheriff in town. All right, if you remember, Bob Gaylord this morning talked about, I think it was back in 1999, his little diagram up there where the manufacturer was pumping out all the data, the manufacturer was really in control, and the customer, right, whoever that may be, right, distributors, an end customer, a store, right, they were just accepting of the data. Well, now the new sheriff is in town, and that new sheriff is really the empowered customer, right, and the whole concept behind the empowered customer is, their expectations are set much higher than ever before, right? As you can see here, the number of tweets that are happening every day. I mean, one mistake, right, on our end as either a manufacturer or a distributor, could impact our total business, right, from this empowered customer who's now tweeting. The other point that's kind of relevant to this whole discussion, we'll get through this, is 75% of the people we interview don't believe in advertising, right? We're not telling the truth in advertising. But anyway, the customer expectations are continuing to soar, and in order to meet those customer expectations, we, on the other side, are dealing with an ever-increasingly global supply chain that's getting more and more integrated, more and more complex. I like to call it like a constellation, right? We're dealing with suppliers who are dealing with suppliers who are dealing with suppliers, right? This thing just keeps mushrooming. It's getting to be a more and more complex world that we have to deal with. So the disruptive forces that are rippling from the customers, through our organizations, through our supply chains, and even across complete industries. And we actually were speaking to the analysts when we were describing what the smarter commerce concept was. They actually said, well, you know what, it's not really a ripple. They defined it as, it's really a tsunami from the disruptive forces that are happening in the marketplace. I'm not going to read each one of these, but the disruptive forces really aren't just about the connected consumer. That's part of it. But think about your networked workforce. It's actually a tongue twister if you try to say that 3 times fast. But the networked workforce, folks internally are collaborating in new and imaginative ways that we wouldn't even have thought about 3 or 4 years ago. Right, inside the 4 walls of your organization, but also outside with, once again, suppliers, distributors, 3PLs, customers, whoever it may be, right? That network workforce is changing the dynamics. Enterprises, we need to evolve the business models. So you can see the quote over here, right? We have more and more data, but the information is worse. Why is the information worse? The information is not really worse. It's just we have so much data we don't know what to do with it. We don't have the process or the tools in place to deal with that amount of data that's coming in now. So we need to be able to evolve our business models and optimize our digital operations. And finally, from the industry's perspective, the value migration. The value is moving, right, through the supply chain out to that end customer. Just like it was described this morning with the manufacturers in 1999, what we're looking at today, it's really all about the customer. We have less control, but that's actually a good thing. you take anything away from today's conversation, take this piece out. It's really the B2C and the B2B commerce models are converging. And what do we mean by that, right? Well, the one quote here is a great one here. If I get a product rating reviews for a $20 book, right, why can't I have a product review for a $1,000 industrial battery assembly, right? My expectations as a consumer are now being transferred into the business world. I expect the same type of information when I'm at work from my business partners. You know, if I am a customer of a particular supplier, I expect the same type of information that I do from Amazon, you know, or from Best Buy or wherever it may be that I'm shopping at home. Right? So the whole concept of these B2C and B2B commerce models are rapidly converging. That's really changing the way we need to do business. And that's really shifting the power, right? And really what's happening now is we need a new approach to commerce overall. Right? Businesses need to be able to understand and anticipate customer behavior. We need to adapt our sourcing and procurement models, right, to optimize our supplier interactions, deal with these more demanding customers. And the idea here, right, is get the right product, the right service, the right price, the right time to the customer. And we need to service that customer flawlessly and predict and drive customer loyalty. So you put all that together, the problems that we're facing in the changing world that we're in, we say at IBM the path forward is really what we call smarter commerce. Now we coin it. Smarter commerce, if you step back and look about what some of the, anybody watch NFL football, by the way? There's IBM advertised a lot on the pregame show, I think it's on CBS or Fox, could be wrong, can't remember which one. They talk a lot about Smarter Planet. Well, Smarter Commerce is actually an outtake of the Smarter Planet initiative, right? There's Smarter Cities, there's also Smarter Commerce now. So we start seeing some ads around Smarter Commerce and some of the benefits of Smarter Commerce on some of the football games this fall. But the whole idea is, right, is putting that customer at the center of the universe. It's not a new idea. People have talked about that for a long time. But the idea around this now is to really leverage the processes and the tools that these consumers are using today, bringing that into the business world, right? We need to be able to maximize that insight through customer interactions on the B2B side, all right? We need to be able to capitalize on the social media and the mobile communications that our B2B customers are using. By gathering up all this information on what the customer's needs and wants and demands are, right, we can help synchronize our entire value chain to deliver on those customer demands. But in order to do that, we need to improve our collaboration and visibility with our partners and our customers. And if we can do that, we'll increase our margins and we'll drive growth. So it's like this cyclical pattern that we go through here. So with the smarter commerce idea, there's actually 3 things that companies have to focus on. I call them the get rights. Right? You need to get right the idea of insight, strategy, and engagement. From a customer insight perspective, what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to gather deep insights in real time that we can then flip over into actionable items when we're dealing with these type of things. We need to be able to rethink how our customers define value, okay, and then take that idea of how they redefine value and ensure that that's now put into our own value chain, right, so that we can deliver exactly what that customer wants. And it's all around from an engagement standpoint. We need more effectively connect, collaborate, and conduct commerce with our business partners so that we can actually deliver a differentiated customer experience to our end customers. So it's not something that's completely out of the ordinary and new. But what it's really all about, like I said, is taking that whole B2C concept, now let's drag it into the B2B world because it's coming. If anybody in here has teenage kids, right, just think of what they do, when they're communicating, how many tweets they put out, how many Facebook entries they put in. That's all I keep in touch with my son who's in college now. Barely call him. I don't email him. I text him, and I Facebook him, right? And if you think about it, my daughter who's in high school, she doesn't read her email. She She's applying to colleges right now, and I'm constantly hounding on her. You know, did you read your email? You're getting email updates from these colleges and universities. I get text. I mean, it's just the way they're doing business today and conducting their lives, that's going to come into the business world in order to happen. It's going to be rapidly coming into the business world and changing the way we all think, the way we do business. I can remember when email was kind of a cool new thing. Right? When only select people had email. All right, state myself. So, with smarter commerce, the whole idea is, you know, it can allow you to transform the entire business cycle. And what we mean by that again is, we have this concept, this buy, market, sell, service, right? So what smarter commerce is going to let you do is optimize your supplier and partner integration up in the buy area, I guess it's 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, right? And by integrating and better dealing with your suppliers and your partners, right, we can also then market and target personalized marketing campaigns for our customer interactions. Right? From a sell perspective, what we want to be able to do is have our customers and partners engage so that we can actually deliver the products and services that they really want and when they want them at the price they want. And from a service perspective, we want to be able to set up a service structure so that we have a flawless customer service experience. You know, things will go wrong, and it's better to tell a customer that something went wrong and take action to correct it, right, than to ignore it and not take action at all. Even on the B2B side, right, the last thing you want to do is have one of your partners ignore you when there's a problem. Think about it on the customer service side. It's a good story I heard last week. I don't know how old the story is, but it's Southwest Airlines. They were stuck on the tarmac for a couple hours. Gentleman on the plane, quite upset about it. Couldn't have been too long ago. It was a Twitter deal. Gets upset about it. Starts tweeting. Southwest bleep 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 bleep. Southwest bleep bleep. You're not telling us anything. Bleep bleep bleep. Well, Southwest is monitoring the Twitter feeds that are out there about themselves, right? So they land at their destination. Southwest agents are at the gate, got to sign up with the gentleman's name on it because he actually gave his real name. Took him in the back room and beat him up. No. What they did is they actually provided him a free ticket, right, for his troubles. So once again, it's just, it's just from a service perspective, it's kind of just the anecdote or the example I wanted to give is just to talk a little bit about what you can do with some of these social media type things that are out there. And just last night, look, we were twittering here at the IDEA conference, right? Saw some of the tweets going up on the board. Same thing's happening even in IBM. We just had our Smart Conference kickoff last week out in San Diego. So folks were tweeting on that also. So it's becoming more and more acceptable in the B2B world to start tweeting about other companies, right, that you're dealing with on a personal basis. One of the things you got to be careful about, kind of digressing a little bit though, but when we're talking about services and tweeting and things of that nature, you're going to be a little cautious because if you are, let's say, at a customer location, and you don't particularly like the city you're in, and you start tweeting about how you particularly don't like the city you're in, guess who that might get back to? The customer that you may be working with. True story. It wasn't me. So, let's just start talking a little bit about examples of real-world solutions. Pretty much an eye chart, but what I want to really cover here is, within IBM, within these 4 areas of buy, market, sell, service, we actually define what we call core business processes. So what are the core business processes within each of the 4 buckets, if you want to call them that, of the process, that you really need to work on if you want to be able to deliver, a smarter commerce type initiative. The areas I want to focus on today, since we want to talk about, engaging and optimizing our buy and our sell processes. In the buy perspective, we're going to talk a little bit about supplier integration and management, what we can do to enhance that experience. And then we'll also later on here touch on customer integration and collaboration. So, when we talk about buy, the one thing that we need to keep in mind is, this empowered customer, like I said, not a consumer, but even the B2B customers, changing the way we buy from, our suppliers. Everybody's a customer. Everybody in this room is a customer in their business perspective, right? We buy something from somebody somewhere along the way. Even if you don't have a direct buying power, you're potentially potentially telling somebody you need a product or service, right, purchase on your behalf. As we talked about earlier, the empowered customer is increasing price pressure due to knowledge of competitive products. I can pretty much go out now, even in the business world, and find out, what everybody's charging. Let's say if I'm looking for indirect supply, such as office furniture, I can find out what that is from anybody, anywhere, anytime. Right? I'm also expecting instant product availability, just like I do in the consumer world. I'm also demanding customized product configurations more than I ever have before. What's happening on the back end, right, is I am now needing to work with my suppliers to more easily share information across not just my internal systems, but taking that information that I now share within my internal systems, extending that out to my supply chain. Right? From a collaborative environment perspective, I need to capture, evaluate, and process all that supplier product information in one area, and be able to detect any compliance issues I'm having with my suppliers, in real time, and hopefully be able to predict even before they happen, some sort of analysis. Right? And the whole idea is I want to continually analyze and refine my whole buying process. And the supplier relationships are changing. We talked about we're now in a more global, more interconnected, more complex supplier environment. I'm not going to read all of these, but the key ones I like to focus on are some surveys we've done just recently, as of 2010. More than 85% of companies expect their complexity of their supply chain to increase dramatically or significantly by 2012. 70% of supply chain officers report a lack of visibility has significant impact on their supply chain. In other words, you can't manage what you can't see. So those are just some of the issues we're working with. And even if you look at the manual processing, I mean, we've been talking about this for quite a while from Sterling Commerce and now IBM is doing EDI type documentation manually. Let's say POs, invoices, acknowledgement, credit acknowledgements mainly, but we don't do it all. But any type of manual process that you're handling today, on average, it's around $15 to process a document manually. Right? If there's an error in that document, they talked about this morning, right? If I have to key in a manual purchase order into my ERP system, I make a mistake, it's going to cost me around $53 to reconcile that error, and probably another $15 to process it again properly. So the costs do add up. So what do we need to do in order to capitalize on the situation? And once again, I'm going to read each one of these, but the whole idea is we need tools in place so that we can analyze our supplier community and spend, more effectively deal with the suppliers that we're dealing with today. Seamlessly, securely integrate our key business processes. All right? We need to be able to collaborate better. We need to be able to provide visibility in the supply chain for ourselves, but we also need to provide that visibility for our suppliers also. We need two-way collaboration and discussion. Right? And then we need to be able to measure our supplier performance so that we make sure that we keep the best suppliers, and we let the suppliers who know that aren't providing the service they need to provide, we can let them know that, right, and what actions they need to take to rectify that situation. I'm not going to really read this, but I just wanted to throw it up here on the screen real quick. It's in the slides for you later. When we define what supplier integration management is all about, once again, it's not something that you just buy integration management from IBM. It's really, once again, it's a life cycle type of approach we'll take a look at here in a second. And the whole idea behind this is we want to enable the integration management and optimize it so companies can drive their business growth, synchronize their supplier community, and improve their overall supplier performance. Not the prettiest chart in the world, but what I'm trying to show here once again is another life cycle. But I also want to show the interlocking processes. So when we're thinking of dealing with suppliers and integrating with suppliers and managing our supply chain, right? We want to look at it from a sourcing and integration, collaboration, and then performance perspective. So sourcing, right? We need to be able to go out and improve and reevaluate our purchasing activities with suppliers today. We need to find the best suppliers we should be dealing with. Once we find those best suppliers, we should integrate with those suppliers. We can automate that B2B process. And for folks who maybe aren't EDI enabled, right, or we're not able to do this B2B integration directly, we need tools to allow us to enable them through some kind of collaborative effort, through some kind of a supplier portal or web portal to allow them to come on so we can actually have some interaction. I don't want just a dumb web portal where they're going to put in their information and then it just gets processed by our systems. I want a web portal that will actually be a two-way street. They'll allow the customer, the supplier, to not only, let's say, maybe upload a catalog to me, but also be able to view their own performance and also answer, let's say, or respond to RFQs through this web portal type of analogy. And then finally, bring it back around. Now that I have my suppliers integrated and I'm collaborating with them, how do I rank them, right? How are they doing? Let me see the visibility into the supply chain that I have now, so that I can actually take action if there's any kind of non-compliance with any of the suppliers. So now, just take a look at a couple projects from a supplier integration and management perspective that can help make folks successful in the smart commerce world. The first is around automating the procure-to-pay process. An example here is a distributor that was dealing, this is a real-life example we have, a distributor up in Canada dealing with many other suppliers through a manual process. They were processing all the documents manually. They decided to go ahead and automate the process. They actually set it up so that the suppliers could send them electronic purchase orders. I'm sorry, they would send them electronic purchase orders and then get electronic invoices back. But they were also giving them a view into the supply chain also through the same portal. But the whole idea here is, commerce begins with your supply chain partners. The questions that ask yourself when you're talking about automating this process is really understanding what the cost is of doing business with these suppliers manually today. I threw a number up there as an average that we've seen from studies that we've done over time. But what you need to do is find out what's it costing you to do business with your suppliers manually. What's the cost of reconciling errors when you do have manual errors? What's the confidence in your supply chain to compete and win new business if you're doing things manually? Can you ramp up? Do you scale? Right? And then we talk about can your supplier see your supply chain? Well, there's a really opportunity out there. Some more studies, some more numbers out there. You've seen the one in the middle before. But another survey that IBM had done has found that 68% of executives report the integration challenges are impeding their collaborative relationship with their trading partners. Okay? 93 billion in lost sales due to outstock inventory. Not just your industry, I mean, it's globally, but still. It's a huge number, right? There is actually a lot of reasons why you want to automate that supplier integration. And the benefits of doing it, right, of integrating that whole procure-to-pay process, obviously, is reduce your operational costs, improve your service level agreements not only with your customers, but with your trading partners, right? You can sign them up to SLAs, so they actually perform. Compete and win new business through an agile supply chain. And make it easier for customers to do business with you, and also suppliers to do business with you. Like I said, we want to turn it into a two-way conversation, a two-way street. How can you do that? I mean, it's on an ad. I'll just pass it up. It's there if you want to see it. IBM obviously does offer the services. Another way to look at this is building a supplier portal. We talked a little bit about it, but streamline, the way that suppliers can access and act on information. Right. Kind of going back to the same questions. What's the cost of doing the business mainly? But can you exchange sales and inventory information with your supplier? To ensure you don't have inventory issues. Can you quickly publish accurate current product information across channels? How long does it take you to onboard new suppliers? Most of the supplier portal type or web portals out there today allow for self-onboarding. Right? So that's another opportunity to look at when you're thinking about onboarding somebody is, what's it going to cost me to do that? And can you personalize the content for your top suppliers? Does everybody have to play the same game, or do you want to personalize it, make it a little bit nicer for your top suppliers that you're dealing with? And are your suppliers able to quickly and easily manage their own users on your site? Just because I set up a supplier portal for one person, right, may not be good enough. I may be dealing with a large supplier who has many folks that are going to be dealing with me. you know, why should I take on that burden? Why can't they set up their own users and make it a lot easier for me? But also make it feel like they're part of the solution also, right? We want to better be able to manage that supplier interaction and significantly improve our supplier relationships. You know, once again, kind of the same thing. So is there a reason to do this? The same number up front. In the middle, though, the other cool thing here to look at is, you know, 50% of businesses plan to adopt a more collaborative sourcing model. This is from a CEO, by the way, a study. So just to give you an idea there. We talked about the stock outs. Well, then on the other side too, if we're not dealing with you know, a good collaborative effort between us and our suppliers, right, we could end up with a heck of a lot of extra merchandise laying around. So some of the benefits that we've seen from some of the supplier portal implementations that we've done, reducing the operational cost, typically a 10 to 30% reduction from a supplier portal compared to doing things manually. We've seen some customers reduce their error rates by, erroneous payments, I'm sorry, by up to 75%. And also, because of the self-onboarding in the supplier portal and agreeing to contracts for some of your small suppliers, with standard contracts in the supplier portal, you can just click and agree. You know, we've seen an overall from some customers up to a 50% reduction in that negotiation time. So that's just something else to keep an eye on.